Hello and welcome to Brain Injury Bites, where we provide help and advice for people after a brain injury. Hi, I'm Ashwini and I'm a trustee at Headway Warrington. I'm also a senior associate solicitor focusing on catastrophic injury, including brain injury.
My name's Brooke and I've lived with a traumatic brain injury since 2007.
Thank you for returning to listen to part 2 of this interview. I guess one thing that, especially in this day and age with social media the way it is, Instagram, etc., you get so many people peddling so many different things about nutrition and miracle foods and, try this, do this. And it's hard to know what information out there is sound advice and what's based on science, what's based on fact, as opposed to what is just a bit of a fad, or there may be a kernel of truth in it, but actually you'd need so much more of this and all the other things around it. I suppose the advice would be don't be taken in by what you read online, but it must be very difficult for people to differentiate what's good advice and what's not. So how would you advise people in terms of where to find good information?
The British Dietetic Association, they do good food fact sheets, and actually it's the BDA, but if you put BDA in the thing, it'll come up with the British Dental Association.
Oh yeah.
But make sure you put British Dietetic Association. They have a food fact sheets which is very good. Their sort of website, the Nutritional Society, it's sort of generally quite good. And if you are got a dietitian, is to listen to your dietitian. So, I mean, it's interesting how you can be influenced. I remember I was seeing sort of one client and their support worker goes, I go on this milkshake diet and it's really good. And they just latched onto that and then that's it. They're on the milkshake diet. Yeah. They're not listening to a dietitian because we kind of probably saying stuff that they don't really want to hear in some aspects. But
that's the human thing, that you take the path of least resistance.
Yes. Yeah. And
what was that juice thing that was probably about 10 years ago now? Everyone was on that juice diet.
Yeah, there's all sorts. Yeah, there's all sorts of sort of fad diets, and but then if you taking out off complete food groups, don't eat gluten, don't eat dairy,
And I guess there's a lot of misinformation around as well, like with gluten,
definitely,
as to what a gluten intolerance actually is, or is it something to do with gluten itself, or is it that people are overdoing it on certain types of food, of which gluten forms a part, but isn't necessarily the key issue.
Definitely.
So yeah, it must be quite challenging, I guess. Yeah. Also, just trying to dispel certain myths.
Definitely, and other sort of websites are good, like the NHS website's good. But as we spoke just before, doing this, the YouTube are brought out a sort of health YouTube, and the people that are on that health YouTube, I think it's a ribbon or such, they are vetted. The content's looked at, it's scrutinized, so it's good evidence-based because they are registered by the doctors, who the doctors are registered with, the nurses, as such, allied health professionals. So that's a good source, and that's a growing sort of area.
That's good that they're vetted, because you get all sorts on YouTube. You get some 19-year-old personal trainer telling you what you need to eat and stuff, and
definitely. And you kind of get, what's interesting is that you get all these sort of personalized nutrition, and these companies, especially with this new drug Ozempic and on all this like that, they you buy, it's, I'm not saying it's not good, it works, it is what it.
What is it?
It's basically it's you can have a tablet injection, and it creates a hormone. It's a hormone that helps to reduce your appetite and also increase your insulin as well, so it can help you to lose weight. Yeah. But then you get these companies that are selling this package, and you look at we give nutritional advice. And then you go and check out the person who's giving nutritional advice. He goes, I'm a personal trainer. I've done a nutrition this. I mean, they probably know this stuff, but they're not vetted.
Right,
they haven't got the allied health, the health professional council.
Yeah, in the same way that dietitians do. Yeah.
And
I found from personal experience, like messing about with your food and like, what's it called, the protein, Atkins diet.
Right.
I went on that for a while, and you do lose weight on that, but I just found myself so tired, and like I have someone that's suffered particularly badly with fatigue, and it's just like If you don't get your correct nutrition in when you've got fatigue, you find that like it crosses over into everything. So like your thinking slows down, and you just struggle to get through life basically, and all that's just for what someone told me on YouTube.
Water weight there rather than
yeah.
Possibly, and everything. Like I say, everyone's different. When we say balanced diet, it's not just, your balanced diet may be different to someone else's.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find out what's right for that person. And it's not just the balance of nutrition and the nutrients. It's the balance within their life. What they're doing. Are they really active? Or are they not so active? Are they going out and doing? How are we going to fit it within their lifestyle?
Yeah.
It's getting the whole holistic.
Absolutely. And you used a term before, you talked about the emotional aspect. And I think that's it. Food is such an emotional thing. It's intrinsic to our culture. It's intrinsic to how we socialize. People come together for meals. It's got a huge emotional value attached to it. So when you were saying before, we're not just robots. We don't just eat put food in. There's so much more attached to it. And that can be, I guess, very difficult again after an injury, because you've already been through so much and, you're trying to get back that control in your life, but also people around you trying to sort of help you feel better in any way that they can. And you're probably also mourning the sort of person that you've lost, or other people again might be doing that, because like Brooke, you've said, Brooke after injury is very different to Brooke pre-injury. And there is a grieving process that goes with that. But that can be quite difficult. And then, you mentioned about emotional eating, and I guess it comes to the point of trying to encourage people to eat mindfully and intuitively. Why are you eating this? Is it to nourish your body? Is it to nourish your soul? Is it because you're stressed about something, you're anxious about something? And sort of understanding why you're doing what you're doing in the first place.
And that's where it's good when you work with these sort of psychotherapists, psychologists, that, working with them to find what the actual sort of, reason behind the behavior. Yeah. And especially in the early days, I have one client who's in a wheelchair, really struggling with his weight, and he can't get out. And so what does he do? He's bored, he's got no activity, he's unable to do stuff. So his emotional thing is to go and eat. Yeah. And then that has that compounding effect.
Mm-hmm. If something else, if socialising involves, going for meals and stuff as well, I don't think socialising is something you ever want to let slip from your life, because you're doing it less anyway, and you find it harder to talk to people, and it's just, I think isolating yourself is one of the worst things you can do after a head injury.
Yeah, and that's what people do, feel very isolated, and some of them turn to something like food.
So coming back to what we were talking about before, and it's something that we touched on, but then I think we sort of went off on a different tangent. We started talking about different foods and nutrients that can promote brain health and recovery. So you mentioned about the omega-3 fatty acids and the antioxidants. Are there other sort of nutrients or specific foods that would help people with that, with promoting that healthy nutrition and recovery?
Okay, so we got the sort of the fatty fish that we call it, the fishy fish, the omega-3s is sort of crucial. Then also you got the sort of the green leafy veg, but to be honest, everyone says health is always green leafy veg. It is really, really good. You got some things like sort of the spinach, you got kale, you got cabbage, and it's really spring greens. I always remember spring greens with my nan, Sunday lunch. And they got sort of all the sort of antioxidants and vitamin sort of K's in there and such. So also sort of berries.
Okay.
So they got something called sort of flavonoids and lots of antioxidants. Again, what we talked about, the stress to kind of prevent that oxidative stress, to get a hold of them sort of free radicals that from, reduce inflammation. And so these like sort of blueberries, blackberries, and, but sort of generally the berry fruit. Also sort of, eggs are good sort of nutrition, they got sort of, and different sort of neurotransmitters, and small amounts for giving people a treat, dark chocolate, is a nice sort of thing, a nice square dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Should it be
sort of
more
thing.
than 70%?
Well, yeah, it depends on how you like it, but yeah, more than 70%. But I'm not saying everyone go out and eat dark chocolate. I'm a bit worried now. but it is, it's nice to have a sort of square sort of often. But it's more talking about the flavonoids, the antioxidants that are in these sort of foods that sort of kind of help. And there's a sort of also turmeric. People talk about turmeric. Yeah. So I know, we talk about sort of misinformation and that, but turmeric, again, it can create a sort of an inflammatory sort of effect. It's called curcum.
Curcumin. Curcumin.
Curcumin.
Oh, is it curcumin?
It's one of these words.
Yeah, I know what you... Yeah.
All these words, okay, that's in sort of turmeric, but, you need to eat a lot of it, but so a nice healthy curry is not going to, do you any sort of any harm or sort of turmeric. So, yeah, you can get a lot of sort of different things, but if you have all them sort of foods in a sort of a balanced diet, so just go through a quick day, you've got your blueberries, your blackberries and the berries in your porridge or your yogurt in the morning. You've got your green leafy veg in the evening with your meal, or a salad in the lunch, the spinach, with maybe some salmon or some sardines or a boiled egg, an egg sandwich. So you can fit these in to your diet quite easily.
I guess as well that you probably want to try and eat seasonally as well, so that you're getting the right things at the right time when they're at their best. I mean, your blueberries, for example, if you're eating them in January, they're probably are they going to be as good for you as if you're eating locally produced blueberries in the summer?
I can't give you a definitive answer on that. But all I say is that once something's been picked and it's sitting around, it can, within the environment, it can start losing certain nutrients. That's why actually frozen.
I was going to ask good. Actually, is frozen? Would you recommend frozen?
Because usually they process in a good way. Just chopping up, they're not adding anything to it, and then they freeze it pretty much sometimes in that same day. As if it's fresh. Well, how fresh? I mean, it could be a week down the line or down, and it's been sitting in there. Depending on the environment, it can lose vitamins and nutrients. And I always say frozen's great because especially if you forget to eat things and it goes moldy and saving money, especially in this day and age with the prices of everything.
Invest in a decent sized freezer.
Definitely.
That's something I don't have. My freezer's tiny.
Oh right, you got one of them little small ones at the top.
It's not that small, but it's just jam packed with stuff.
And it's like, for instance, like the mixed berries, you may take it out the night before and you can put them on your porridge or your yogurt, so, and just you can get these steam bags of sort of vegetables as such. But if they're sitting around a long time, so if they're looking a bit old and wrinkly on the old shelf, I'll probably wait to get a bit more fresh.
In a typical plate, what should people look for to put on the plate?
All right, so there is, I would say, is the go-to thing, way of plating up some food. And that would be sort of half your plate vegetables. Quarter your plate your meat or your protein source, or whether it's beans and pulses, whether you're vegetarian or vegan. And then your starch, your carbohydrates. So if you're doing queen, you've got salmon, you've got good omega-3s, you've got some salad, it's got some spinach in there, and then you've got a sweet potato or a baked potato there, and that's perfect. In the sort of a balance, you've got your greens, you've got your carbohydrates, you've got your protein, you've got your healthy fats. But you mix and match things up. You can get some cooked veg, you can get different carbohydrates. You can be very creative with air fryers. Are great to be creative with potatoes. But in the way of sort of specific foods, it's probiotics. So getting that, so yogurt, getting a good sort of the healthy bacteria in your stomach, because they have this, starting to get more and more information out there that you have that sort of brain and gut sort of gut brain connection, they call it.
What are they called? Yakult and little drinks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or Actimels,
Yeah, they can be. I mean, if you eat, again, always going back, is like if you eat a good sort of health diet, so you got some sort of yogurts and you eating vegetables and oats, because fibre is what the bacteria feed off, the sort of, which is good. But if you want to kind of top it up or make sure you can do Yakult for 2 weeks.
Not as a permanent thing then.
Well, not so. If you like, you sort of having yogurt. Like Denon and things like that, or a yogurt drink, or you can do sort of Yakult if you want. If you don't like this sort of yogurt, not having them sort of foods.
Just trying to simplify it, because that's one of the things I've struggled with is, you get all this information, but then like what rigidly should I stick to? So like, you want to get
but does it need to be rigid?
Well, I think it does for people with head injuries, because they're easily confused. Well, I've been easily confused anyway. So not necessarily rigid, just simplified.
Yeah.
What do you definitely need?
Well, I'd say if you have like yogurt, there's lots of different brands out there.
Yeah.
That's sort of, let's say, probiotic, prebiotic on them. It's sort of foods that you can eat as part of your balanced diet. Again, I wouldn't go out and buy lots of supplements. Yakult is a borderline sort of type like that. You can get things like a yogurt drink, a Denon, which you can use as equivalent to a yogurt. I'm saying yogurt a lot, sort of thing, but I'm not promoting that. But it's to kind of create but with that, you're going to have your vegetables, the fibers, important. One especially for your bowel health.
Do you have as many colours on your plate as you can?
Yeah,
Is that
eat the rainbow.
Yeah.
So they say that the different colours or the different types of vitamins, and so it's try and get as not all green leafy veg.
And definitely not all beige.
No, yes. That's the fried food. That's all the beige.
But every now and again, you need some beige food, don't you? Because
every now and again, you need to.
That's for your mental,
with emotion side
your mental
food.
Health thing, right?
Yeah, it's you need something that you enjoy. It's just, it's just not every day, or every other day.
I guess it always comes back to that sort of the very non-sexy sort of everything in moderation, combination of a healthy, balanced diet and exercise. And that is the key to good health overall. But it's so difficult, I think, in this day and age when people want, like we were saying before about the quick wins, the fads and stuff. It can be quite difficult to keep trying to push that message of actually, just stick with something longer term that is healthy and balanced and intuitive and mindful, and the results will come over time. I think, we're in such a fast-paced society now that we want it all now.
And that's what you get with yo-yo dieting and things like that. You get that quick fix, the Atkins diet, Brooks, you said, and then you lose it. Then it's not sustainable. You want a sustainable food that you enjoy, and what you can swap in and out. And to sort of have that consistency, that sort of.
You end up having dreams about bread.
Sorry, how's that?
On the Atkins diet, I used to have dreams about bread, buttered bread.
I think though that's the thing, that if you say to somebody you can't have that, then you only want it more. And I found this when I started going down a very sort of mindful eating journey. The minute I stopped saying, right, I can't have this, I can't have that, it almost became a non-issue. It's like I don't really feel like that, so I'm not going to have that. But it's not because anyone's saying you can't have it. It's just don't eat it, don't want it, don't, and it works. But it's a longer term approach.
Definitely, and that's why where dietitians that we work with sort of our clients is, we try and still keeping the foods that they do enjoy. I mean, I had one client that was so scared to see me because they thought I was going to take his takeaway away from him. Well, I said no. We just fitted it in the grand scheme of things that he still can enjoy them types of food. Okay, his portion sizes may be a bit different as such, but you can have the foods that you enjoy, but in a healthier way. Yeah, but it's really.
Do you have any sort of success stories from your practice where you kind of feel like, I've really made a difference, or I've helped that person really kind of turn around their patterns?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I've had one sort of client that struggled for years to kind of get his blood sugars under control, his weight under control, and it took a while. as you say, to implement things. And but we got his blood sugars under control, his weight's sort of stable, and he's enjoying a different, we have someone go in and cook with him regularly, so he's trying all these different meals and he's enjoying it. And this was a gentleman I was saying earlier that, he ate fish and chips. Literally, I think he ate out 12 times a week.
Wow.
And,
a lot of fish and chips.
Well, not always fish and chips, but at least 4 of them were fish and chips. And, it's taken a good few years, but now he's only eating a couple of times a week. He's actually cooking food for himself, and he's making sort of sandwich, and which is more sustainable financially as well. And who I think she lost over a stone within over sort of 6 months, because we helped to kind of help her to create her own meal plan with the support workers. So we created it, and also they are a sort of celiac as well. So it's helping to kind of to do that, to kind of keep the sort of the celiac disease under control. And obviously the symptoms from that, the quality of life is improved. They're out more, so they're doing more exercise. And so I've got loads of exercise. I'm joking, but it can be challenging.
Something that's really helped me in the past is MyFitnessPal, where you're putting everything that you eat into this app on your phone. And it's not the app that's doing it, but what it does is it makes you aware of what you're eating, because sometimes I just graze and stuff. And if you put everything in there, it gives you, one, it makes you more aware of it, and two, it tells you how much protein you get, how much carbohydrates and stuff like that. So
it can be sometimes even just on a piece of paper, or what, because sometimes people, if you put it in FitnessPal, they don't know what calories are, they don't know what protein, and it's all a bit much. But because you've got that understanding prior to brain injury, and even just writing down and saying, you don't remember. Someone says, what you eat yesterday, I'm like, I can't, but you miss out. I had that chocolate bar there, or I had that sneaky packet of crisps, or how much of that, I had 4 meals yesterday instead of 3. You can actually see what you actually eat. And remember, years ago, you had this Gillian Keith, and they put everything on your table.
Oh, good Lord, that woman.
It was just crazy. And you see it, but she was scary.
You got to remember to scan it in as well, though. If you're cheating on the app, you're only cheating yourself.
There you go. And that's what a lot of people, I think it's psychological behind it, is that people block out some stuff that they may have eaten.
Or it's human nature as well to sort of almost lie about it, because they feel shame, or they feel like they're letting you down, or they know that they're perhaps letting themselves down in some way. And
definitely. I have one client that is just adamant that, I don't eat much at all. But they carry on putting on that weight. So it's like trying to get into the grasp of why, when or where and how is he's getting them sort of calories in. So it's always like a game of chess as well. It's always not a game of chess, but I mean, trying to work things out for different people.
I feel like your role is it's not just limited in a way to dietetics and nutrition. I think there is very much a psychological element in there as well.
And that's why we're just so grateful for the MDT.
Yeah.
Working with sort of great sort of professionals, and, to work together. And it's a great environment to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's been really fascinating. Thank you so much. But before we go, we will put your details on the show notes for this episode. But perhaps if you'd like to just give people your details now, so that if they want to get in contact with you to discuss your services or have any questions, over to you.
Sure. So I'm Tony Ward. I'm a director of Neuro Rehab Nutrition. The website is pretty much neurorehabnutrition.co.uk. You can contact us there's an info tab there, and my email is what my business is, so it's tony@neurorehabnutrition.co.uk. So if you got any questions or you want to sort of ask anything, just give us a call.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you so much again for that. And we'll see if we can also find some fact sheets off the websites that you recommended that we can put on the episode notes as well, to help people if they're looking for information on nutrition and good nutrition from recommended sources.
Yes.
So yes, we can do that. But thank you very much again for coming to join us.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Please don't forget to follow, subscribe and share our content. If you do have any suggestions for topics that you'd like us to cover, why not drop us a line at hi@braininjurybites.co.uk.